Hey, everybody. Very excited to be kicking off the eighth annual VirtualCon with this amazing speaker, Lynette Artin. Lynette, are you here?
I'm here. How are you today?
I am amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Well, I'm going to give everybody who's listening, so just so that you know as well, we are broadcasting over two metaverses right now, currently Otherverse Classic and Otherverse Xaeon. And we're also
Okay.
YouTube and Twitch. So we are all over the place. There's a lot going
Oh,
on.
nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm looking at everything. I've got a lot of monitors in front of me. So I'll be taking questions and I'll feed them to you later. But just before I hand it off to you, how about I give a little introduction?
Awesome.
Works good. All right. So this is Ms. Lynette Artin with over a decade in the cryptocurrency space since 2009. Lynette Artin has been dedicated to continuous learning, experimentation, and research. Her journey has led her to play a pivotal role in creating Get Fit Mining, a move to earn crypto project poised to revolutionize the industry. After 2.5 years of development, Get Fit Mining is on the verge of its grand launch, exiting beta to empower users worldwide with its unique value proposition. And available both on Google Play Store and Apple App Store, Get Fit Mining redefines crypto-driven fitness and wellness, offering unprecedented opportunities for engagement and rewards. So very excited, building a
Yeah.
successful crypto project.
It
Floor is
has
all
been
yours.
it's been a road, that's for sure. Here's what I love about the crypto space is it's life-changing. Financial freedom wise. The problem is trying to find the right project. And, I've always, pretty much stuck with blockchains. Their self-funding ecosystem. And, when you're working with the right ones, can be very promising. I mean, look at the Bitcoin platform or, blockchain, where you start to see, things fall apart in the crypto space are all these crypto projects that are created. And when I got involved in the crypto space, it was with Bitcoin back in 2009. I absolutely knew nothing at all about the crypto space. It intrigued me, but not enough to really dig in deep and start, to learn it. It was probably a few years after I had bought the Bitcoin before I really started to take notice and pay attention. Then what we saw, they call it the wild, wild west. Everybody was starting to create these projects, and they always started one way, massive pre-sales of those tokens. Problem with that is that you're diluting the market value before the token is even listed on an exchange. And those pre-sales are generally used to begin the development processes of whatever project is going to be created. And nine times, well, I don't want to say 9 times out of 10, but most times the project never gets developed as promised in the beginning. And then really what it becomes is a big selling frenzy. And then there's, when's the end of that project going to happen? And then, of course, there's all these projects that start out the wrong way. A handful of the people that were able to get in early ended up walking away with most of the money before it ended, or you just get these project creators who have one thing in mind, and that is to rake in as much money as they can before they do a rug pull and then leave. So I really didn't have any plans whatsoever of creating a crypto project. Really, I got drove to it based on all of the failures that are in the space. And so I really made myself dig in and learn. And I think what really pushed me over the edge and decided to really create something was these NFT JPEGs that were going for insane amounts of money. There is technology behind NFTs. It doesn't have to just be that JPEG. And so when you're getting involved and you're creating a project, and we really do need some great project creators out there that are goal driven, that want to do it the right way. I am a firm believer that if we have more people who create projects done the right way, and eventually the peer-to-peer communities that get involved in these projects are going to learn what to look for in a project that has been created the proper way. And then you're going to start to see all of these failing projects that are created not to have longevity, not to be here for the long term. You're going to start to see them fall away, because if people in general start to understand and learn, what it takes for a project to be successful, they'll start being a little more picky and try to stay away from the hype. You've got to look at more than just the hype. And so I'm going to tell you right now, to build a successful crypto project, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years to do. We're already in our third year of creating our Move to Earn project. And I have to tell you, and I did not know that the Move to Earn space existed. I am 56 years old. I have never really paid attention to my fitness activity, or, trying to maintain youth until I was in my early 50s. And my Apple Watch is, it's constantly looking at my watch. Did I close my rings? How many steps did I get? And so when you're going to create a project, you've got to have a clear definition of what it is that you're going to be creating. You've got to have that clear vision. You've got to have a purpose for that project. You've got to be able to solve a problem. And so we are actually in the process of rebranding. We're leaving our, beta build of our development phases. We're moving into our final brand, MoveQuest. And so the 3 years that we've taken to develop this project, our vision, our purpose, what we're bringing to the community, we took a lot of time to develop this. And just writing out the blueprint for this project took me over 6 months. I had to make sure all the I's were dotted, all the T's were crossed, and that I was making sure that there was not going to be a point of failure. And then putting that together, and now moving into MoveQuest, we've really created, a life-changing, very dynamic Move to Earn project. I didn't know that the Move to Earn space existed, and I was very excited when I started to research, fitness and how that could work in the crypto space. And I started looking at some of the projects that were in the Move to Earn space. And talking about crypto again, it's not even been in existence long enough for somebody to have retired, from this space. And so it's still evolving, and you really have to teach yourself. Honestly, you've got to be able to tear it apart. I'm one of these people that like to break everything down. I'm constantly writing and jotting, and we'll pull things apart and then put them back together again. You've got to be careful at who you're listening to as well. You've got so many people out there that claim to be crypto experts. They don't know what they're talking about 9 times out of 10. They don't get the full concept. And I'm not saying I know everything about crypto, but what I can tell you is that I've taken the time to study it and to make myself learn the space. And, look at Bitcoin as your first example. And, there's things that could have been done differently with Bitcoin, but it works. And maybe it's not always used the way it was intended to be used, but it works. And so with the Move to Earn space, I was able to look at what was out there. I was able to see exactly where they were going to fail, and was able to make sure that that didn't exist in MoveQuest. So when you get started, whether you are looking to get involved in a project that you're going to support, or whether you're somebody who is thinking about creating a project, you've got to make sure that you've got a clear vision of what that project is going to do. What is its purpose? What is it going to provide to the community? Those are the first 3 major things that you've got to figure out in your plan. The next thing you have to do is you need to choose a blockchain, and there are many of them out there. And so with MoveQuest, we're EVM compatible. And so we'll be up on multiple blockchains. But you've got to look at, what does that blockchain offer? What are their transaction fees? What is the speed of that blockchain? What is the security that they offer? What is the scalability that they offer? What do they offer for projects who are in the development phases? There are a lot of blockchains that will work with projects so that they will build on those blockchains. Currently, we plan to be on 8 different blockchains. And the reason for this is for many, and I'm going to get into that here in, just a little bit when you're choosing those blockchains. We've been on 2 blockchains. The first one is the Binance Smart Chain, and we did our beta testing there. When you're building a project at the level and scale of MoveQuest, Get Fit Mining in our beta stage, we had a lot of beta testers. We didn't have a full ecosystem in development yet. We had to build our project. The foundation of our project is insane. It's very complex. And so we had to test all of these features as we were implementing them. And so the Binance Smart Chain we used during our beta phase, and we had many reasons for being on the Binance Smart Chain. Now that the ecosystem is in play, that chain has taken a while to take off. Simply because oversaturation of tokens from being mined for those 2.5 years while we were doing the beta testing before having the full ecosystem. That ecosystem in your blockchain in your project in the crypto space is key. If you do not have an ecosystem, your project will not thrive. It will not last. It will be gone. You've got to have an ecosystem. And that's what I find when I go out and I look at most of these projects that are in the space. They do not have an ecosystem. It's literally just a buy and sell frenzy. If the only thing that you can do with that token is buy it to sell it, it's going to fail at some point. You've got to have an ecosystem. You've got to have a use case for that token. And your tokenomics is another crucial aspect. You've got to really take the time to figure out how this project that you want to create is going to function, and what is the use of that project? What is the use of that token? What is the utility behind that token? Is there enough utility? And always remember, just because there's more doesn't mean there's more value. Sometimes less is more. And you'll see these projects when they create their tokenomics where they've got trillions of tokens, hundreds of billions of tokens, because they think when they do that pre-sale, if people are holding on to millions of them and they can sell them on the idea that if it just reaches a penny, you can be a millionaire. Okay, let me tell you, a project that's got hundreds of billions and trillions of tokens will have a hard time reaching a penny. You've got to look very strongly at your tokenomics when you're creating your project. The reason that we decided to do our proof of concept on the Avalanche blockchain is because of their scalability and because they can do a large amount of transactions per second at a very low cost. Their security is very high. They also offer multi-chain capability. And so there's future development that we can do there. And they also have a very strong developer ecosystem. And so you've got to look at that as well, because some of these blockchains will also provide you grants or funding. And not only that, but give you access to their community. So when you get ready to decide what blockchain it is that you want to use, reach out to the creators of those blockchains and see what they have to offer to you as a project developer, because oftentimes you will be able to get some help in that area. Now, we didn't do that ourselves with Avalanche because we were already strong in our own right there to be able to launch on that chain. But if you're just getting started in the development stages, some of these, the Binance Smart Chain, we didn't really explore that either, but we have talked to a couple of other blockchains and they're excited to have us build on their platform. And they actually will assist you in some of the building of your project. Talking about the tokenomics, What we did was with our MoveQuest token is we mirrored the Bitcoin tokenomics. We did that because why fix something that isn't broke, right? Why not use what's been proven, okay, to work? And so 21 million MoveQuest is what we have right now. But we do our tokenomics or our distribution of the tokenomics a little bit differently. With our project, you're using proof of physical activity. On your blockchains, there's proof of work, there's proof of stake. We have proof of physical activity, and we coined that term. And so when you are involved in our project, we are 100% decentralized. This is another thing too. For those of you who are looking to get involved with projects, to be a supporter of projects, not necessarily creating them, you want to make sure that when you're getting involved in these projects, that you look at those tokenomics and what is it that they are allocating to the project creator, for administrative costs, for marketing, different types of rewards that they want to do. You want to really take a close look at that. With us, with MoveQuest, there's no allocation of tokens whatsoever. As the creator of that project, I don't get a single MoveQuest token. The development team doesn't get any of the tokens, nor does the design team. There's not even MoveQuest that's been allocated for marketing purposes at all. We mine them or we buy them. One thing that when you're creating a project, you've got to figure out how can you create that project without having to sell the token of your project? Because if you're selling the token of your project, you're devaluing the market value of that token. You're removing the liquidity from that, from your project that you're creating. So you want to make sure that you are very careful when you're creating those tokenomics. I've got an outline here. I got to make sure I stay on target because sometimes I start talking and then I start to wander off in my own direction here. So back into the tokenomics. Oh, your supply and demand. How are you going to balance that supply and demand? What we do differently here, and I'm going to tell you that it works because you can go and you can look at our charts and you can analyze what's happening here. Try to avoid a pre-sale. Those are unnecessary. You should be able to develop your project without having to raise the funds from a pre-sale. If you do that, you've already created a huge hole that you're going to have to try to climb out of when you do list that token. Try to figure out how you're going to be able to come up with those development costs without having to pre-sale your tokens. We did not do that. We did do a liquidity raise 2 weeks before we listed the token. And so we made sure that when the token listed, there was only 220,000 tokens that were in circulation from the liquidity raise. And then we paired 100,000 MoveQuest to $100,000 and we listed the token at $1. And what we do is we distribute the tokens like Bitcoin, okay, 2.6 million in the first 4 years. And then there'll be a halving, it'll be 1.3 and another halving, and every 4 years, it will go through that same cycle. And in the year 2059, all of the tokens will be in circulation from the 21 million. However, we also look at Bitcoin, and you've seen how long it took for Bitcoin to be able to move up and scale up on its market value, because it was distributing 7,200 tokens per day, or 7,200 were being mined. I think it was 50 per hour, 50 per block. I'd have to go back and look again at it. But at any rate, 7,200 a day were going into circulation. And there wasn't very many people involved in Bitcoin in the very beginning. So you have these really heavy holders. So we did some changes to make the tokenomics stronger. One is that we are only distributing per day from the proof of physical activity mining a number of 2,500 per day. But what we have done is we've put 2,500 of those tokens into a reserve contract. And this way, what people are mining every day, they're getting what they should get at basically at a 50% value. And then once the liquidity pool can support having 7,200 tokens in circulation every day, the tokens that are in reserve will be released to them. So it's like mining double every day, but 50% of them are held into that reserve contract. So it can stabilize the liquidity pool, stabilize the market. And so it will begin to increase the amount of tokens that are released on a daily basis over time. What's being distributed will increase as the community grows. You've got to make sure your project is community driven. The community has got to drive up that market value of the token. You don't want whales, you don't want the heavy holders. If you do a pre-sale, you're going to end up with that. If you release too many tokens too early, again, you can end up in that situation. So your tokenomics, they are critical to your project. So you've got to start with, what is the use case of your project? What's your vision? What's it going to bring to the community? What real world problem is it solving? For MoveQuest, it's huge. And we've got testimonial after testimonial. We have people who are dropping weight like crazy, not because they're dieting, not because they're going out and spending $1,200 a month on Ozempic or whatever, new weight loss drug is on the market each month. They are literally just changing their lifestyle, but the application drives them to be competitive with themselves. Okay, because every day they're checking, how many steps did I get? How many MoveQuest did I mine from that? How many calories did I burn? Did I get in my 2-hour workout? Am I getting a solid 6 to 8 hours of sleep at night? All of this is mining tokens. You're mining 24/7. That's one thing that is different with our project than with your other move to earn projects. You can only mine for a few minutes a day, or you can only mine if you're outside taking a walk. We encompass all of it. Your steps, the distance that you're walking, the calories that you're burning, your workout time, and then your sleep, because sleep is also important to your body being able to recover from all that physical activity. And people are pushing themselves to do more physical activity. We have testimonials of people who've lost 100 pounds, 50 pounds, 40 pounds. People are consistently losing 4 or 5 pounds a week. They're starting to feel better. They're feeling more balanced. They're feeling happier. They're more energetic. And that's what happens when you get up and move more. And so our app really does solve an issue, a real life issue, which is, you hear about it on the news, especially with politics here in the United States, with RFK, and about your health and what you're putting into your body, moving more, trying to get away from that sedentary lifestyle, because obesity and being overweight is one of the biggest precursors to chronic illness and diseases and cancer. So whatever you do when you're deciding what you're going to create in this space, make sure that you're solving a problem, that there's a real need for it out there, because otherwise you're going to lose that engagement. You're going to lose that community because there won't be something there to hold them for that long term. It's got to be something that's beneficial, that's going to change their life in a positive way. Once you've done that and you've been able to capture that audience, you've got to be able to bring that real value to them. And that's where your tokenomics come in. So remember, just because you can mint a lot of tokens doesn't mean that it's always going to benefit you in your project. The less tokens that you have, the better the market value of that token will be, because you can create demand faster. You are able to control that supply and demand better, make sure that it's balanced out. And so the tokenomics, they're very critical with your project. Another pitfall that you're going to find if you're trying to create a project is the liquidity. To my knowledge, okay, I have yet to find a project out there. We leave 90% of the revenue with the community. How many of you have gotten involved in projects? And if you've been thinking about creating a project, you're probably thinking along the same lines as all the other projects. Have the pre-sale and then have the community supply the liquidity. That's a major, major problem. You have got to create a self-funding ecosystem, one that's going to be able to sustain that liquidity. If you have the community purchasing all the tokens at pre-sale, and then you also ask that community to provide the liquidity, okay, that means you're asking them to go out and buy both tokens to create the pair, inject it as liquidity, get the LP tokens, the LPTs, and you're going to give them a reward or a percentage of the transaction fees. Those transaction fees are never going to amount to enough to motivate people to leave their money in your pool long term. The first time you have somebody sell off a large amount of tokens irresponsibly, you never want to be the first person that becomes the market maker, right? You never want to be that first person who sells off the large amount of tokens, but there's always going to be one. And they do change the dynamics of your pool, and you've got to be able to recover from that. But if you're asking your community to provide that liquidity, you've seen it happen over and over again. The community freaks out, and rightfully so, because they've seen it happen over and over and over again. The minute you've got a large seller, you're going to start to see the community pull their liquidity. One, they don't understand how the liquidity actually works. And two, the transaction fee rewards are not high enough to motivate them to take that risk. And then when you start seeing the community pull the liquidity, now you start seeing your community selling off their tokens. There's been a big sale. You don't have a self-funding ecosystem, and so you have no way to correct it. You have no way to fix what just happened. And so now you've got this downward spiral. You've got your community who's pulling their liquidity. You've got the community who's selling off their tokens. Now you've got a project creator who's freaking out, and they've been allocated themselves all kinds of tokens. They already see the end, the writing's on the wall, and pretty soon they're going to pull everything out that they can, and the shop is closed. It's done. It happens over and over and over and over again. You have to look at blockchains. They're self-funding ecosystems. And so MoveQuest was built under those fundamentals. We are completely decentralized. If you ever get involved in a project, okay, I'm talking to people who are going to support projects, or if you're going to create a project, if you leave any control to the creator, the developers at all, you are not decentralized. A truly decentralized project is managed by smart contracts. That means that the community is always and forever in control of their money. You never want to be the custodian of anybody's money. And how many of these crypto projects do you see come up where they say we're decentralized? Unfortunately, because crypto is so new, a lot of people don't truly understand what decentralized is. It's more than just going up on a decentralized exchange. It means that there is no custodian, there's no middleman, there's no intermediary, there's no company. It means that the person is able to manage everything from smart contracts. I could walk away from MoveQuest today and MoveQuest still operates because it's 100% fully decentralized. The community is in total control of everything, from minting their miners, from plugging them into their mining dock, upgrading their miners, submitting their proof of physical activity to the blockchain to validate the rewards that they mined each and every day, from claiming their tokens to exchanging their tokens. Every time they click a button in our DApp or on our Web3, they're making a call to a smart contract. And so you've got to make sure if you're creating a truly decentralized crypto project that there is no centralization to it. You never want your community to have to log into a dashboard and request for you, the project creator, or a group of people to decide if and when they're going to get their money. Then you're centralized. You are not a crypto project. You are a company. So there is no gray area. You can't be decentralized with a small piece of centralization. You're either centralized or you're decentralized. There is no middle ground there. It's one way or the other. So you've got to make sure that if you're going to develop and create a crypto project, one, that you've got a development team that actually understands the crypto space. And if they don't, that they're willing to take a real quick, hard core learning expedition into the space, because you've got to make sure that you develop your project the proper way. If you don't have an ecosystem, you're going to have an issue with regulations, okay? Because basically at that point, you only have a token that's used to buy and sell. Now you got a security issue. So make sure that you study up on what's the groundwork, okay, for regulatory compliance issues and things. To make sure you're up to speed on that. I'm not going to go too deep into that today. What I will tell you is the ink is still wet on the paper, right? And the regulations are still evolving. So just make sure that you don't leave any gray area. Make sure you don't leave anything to chance. Just try to make sure that everything you do is done the right way so that you are compliant. And if there's something you're not compliant in, make sure you're able to get rid of it right away so that you can be compliant with regulations. And I'm telling you right now, utility, an ecosystem, that self-funding ecosystem, that is important, especially if you don't want your project to fail. I mean, do you really want to, spend millions of dollars creating a project just to watch it fail? And I know you don't. And so you've got to be really careful with how you are creating it. You got to really blueprint it out. You got to have that solid outline and make sure that you've done everything the proper way. What we have with MoveQuest is a self-funding ecosystem. What that means is that we've got loads of use for that token, but we also have a mechanism. We don't burn tokens. So you want to also, explore the burn of tokens. That is creating an inflated market value. You're burning tokens out of circulation, which means you're giving more value to the tokens that are still circulating. And you've got to make sure you have the liquidity that can support that, or that in the future, you'll have the liquidity that can support that. Also, this is key too, your project cannot rely on new money. You've always got to make sure that you don't have that pyramid Ponzi scheme element to your project. And what I mean by that is that you don't need new money coming in to stabilize your project. If you've got to have new money coming in to make sure that the existing community is able to earn or be paid, you're going to have a problem. This is where smart contract management is also key. Smart contracts act like an escrow. Okay, it pays instantly. It pays in real time. It ensures that you don't have that Ponzi pyramid scheme involved in your project. And just to further make sure that we were extremely clear of that with GetFit and MoveQuest, when somebody gets started with our project, they have to mint a miner. I mean, there's just no way, because those have to be plugged in. They're recorded to the blockchain, and this is how that proof of physical activity is filtered through, generates the hashes. Then once you submit, it combines one hash, it records all of that physical activity to the blockchain. But the tokens, you need the MoveQuest token, okay, to mint those miners. And yes, it pays out a commission for people who share MoveQuest, GetFit mining with others, because building your community is crucial. If you don't come up with a solid way to build your community, you're going to also have issues. And it's a very difficult space to compete in, in the crypto space. And so we've created some elements where we can have project collaboration, and we can work with multiple projects and multiple communities, and everybody benefits from it. And so that's also a key factor. How can you work and collaborate with other projects so you can share multiple communities without having to worry about them feeling like there's a competition there, that you're competing? You got to figure out a way to be able to engage multiple audiences and make sure everybody can still be happy and can thrive, because the crypto space is, while it's growing, it's still very small in comparison to other things that you could be involved in. And so when we're talking about, people getting started, they mint the miners, it pays a commission, and all of the other MoveQuest, it goes right back into the vault. That MoveQuest is not used to pay any existing users of our project. What it does is it goes back into the vault so that it can be recycled. It can re-enter circulation in the year 2060 so that the mining can continue once that 21 million MoveQuest tokens are now in circulation. So what we've done is not created inflated market value of the token. We've just created a better supply and demand, a better balancing act for that token. And so they're just 60% of all the MoveQuest token when you mint a miner. It goes back into the vault, never to be sold, never to be, used at all, except to re-enter the market 35 years from now. And already, just since August 1st, we've removed enough MoveQuest from the minting of the miners where this project will still be mining 28 years past the year 2059. And so we're really proud of that. So you got to make sure you remove that, because there's a lot of, I like to call them armchair critics. And because there are so many projects that weren't created the proper way, what they do is they just lump everybody into one basket, and it's always going to be a scam. Okay. And so you got to make sure that you've done your due diligence to make sure that your project is super solid so that you are able to debunk them. And basically, if they're not willing to do the groundwork and they're not willing to do the research on your project, that's on them. But you've done it the right way, and you'll be able to come out with flying colors and know that what you've done, you've created solid, and that what they're claiming, it doesn't exist. And so we're very proud of that with MoveQuest, because I don't care what they say. Honestly, I don't waste my time, because they didn't take their time to actually talk to me or to do their research on our project to see that we've made sure that all of these elements have been removed that other projects have failed from. And so you've got to make sure that you do that. You've got to be so transparent. I will be honest with you. You'll see these different projects that are created, and you can't get to the person who created them. And I'm very transparent. I'm very available, and I'm also open, and you have to be too. You've got to be open to listening to your community. Are there things that you could do better? There's been a lot of enhancements that have been made to our project just from collaborating with a lot of our community through our beta testing, and it's made it even stronger. And maybe some of the, enhancements that we've made have been small, but they all make a difference. And some of them have been very good. Some have been, even some, big enhancements that we've made to it. And so you've got to make sure, one, be available to your community. If you've done your project the right way, you've got nothing to hide. Make yourself available, be open and be honest with your community. Be very transparent and make sure that everything is decentralized. You can send them all to the blockchain to see everything that needs to be seen, because it's all recorded. And blockchain doesn't make a mistake. People make mistakes. Humans make mistakes. But blockchain never does. And so that's the reason why you want to make sure that you keep everything decentralized and make yourself available to answer questions if there are any. I guess with our ecosystem, just to explain it to you, you've got to keep your community engaged. They've got to be excited about that project. When people get involved with MoveQuest, there is a lot to keep them engaged and involved. One, they're minting these miners. All of our miners are unique. They're minted in real time. We don't hold an inventory of our miners. They have to unlock their mining dock slots. They plug in their miners. And we have the gamification that we've added to this, so they can evolve their miners up to the higher powered miners. Each one of these miners have got different elements, different attributes, different mining boosts and bonuses. We keep them engaged. When we move into the MoveQuest, people will be able to create their own challenges. They'll be able to join challenges. They'll be able to lease out their miners. And so we've even created a peer-to-peer economy. Okay, while MoveQuest has its own economy, we've also created a secondary economy, the peer-to-peer economy, which we really haven't even talked about a lot yet. I haven't gotten into that part with the community because we'll be leasing, the challenges, we'll be releasing the challenges and the leasing piece here in the next 2 to 3 weeks when we go into our rebranding. And then I'll be able to start talking to them about that peer-to-peer economy, that secondary economy that exists within the economy. And so we've got that solid ecosystem, but here's what's important, getting back to liquidity. When I'm talking to you about people being able to pull the liquidity, you've got to have a self-sustaining ecosystem. And so when people mint the miners, no, that doesn't come into the ecosystem. That just is removed. But when they onboard into the ecosystem and they are unlocking those doc slots, they're using MoveQuest. When they're evolving, they're using the USDT. We don't use the MoveQuest for the evolving, the upgrading of the miners, because this project never sells MoveQuest, ever, ever, ever. So what it does is it takes that USDT, it buys MoveQuest from the market, and it comes back and it pairs it to the USDT, and then it adds the liquidity. When you unlock the doc slots, that MoveQuest, that can be used to pair to the USDT. When you submit every day, we use for Avalanche, we use AVAX. For the Binance Smart Chain, we use BNB. The reason we do that is so that on the Avalanche, that AVAX can be converted to MoveQuest or to the USDT so that can be paired and added as liquidity. Same thing when they claim their tokens. When you create challenges, join challenges, when you lease the miners, when you create events, when you buy boosts or mystery boxes and all of the other features that we have within this app, it's using MoveQuest. And all of this is providing liquidity. Everything that this community does within this application, 90% is the liquidity. You don't have to worry about the community pulling the liquidity because they are already generating the liquidity within the ecosystem. It allows for, if you're careful with your tokenomics, you can avoid a whale scenario. If you don't have people that have a lot of tokens, a few thousand tokens, that's not a whale scenario. Okay, millions of tokens, hundreds of thousands of tokens, 50,000 tokens, you're talking about a whale scenario. But if you got your tokenomics right, it can't happen. For somebody to buy 24,000 MoveQuest right now today off the exchange would cost them like 60, what was it? Maybe it's 28 million. I can't remember. It's millions of dollars. It wouldn't happen. And if you have the self-sustaining ecosystem, you've also got, you can write it into your contract. So if somebody does a heavy amount of selling, you can remove the excess tokens, the excess MoveQuest, and you're able to, it corrects that market value and it re-injects the liquidity so you can protect your community from bad actors or people who don't use common sense when they're selling your tokens. And so there's so much that you can do to correct what's been done in this space from what I like to call uninformed crypto creators. Okay, these project creators. They didn't take their time to do it the right way. They didn't study what actually makes a project work. But if you do things the right way, you can avoid these pitfalls that we've seen in this space. Try to avoid the hype. Market your project based on the force of that project, based on its fundamentals, based on its use case, its ecosystem, its sustainability, the liquidity provisions, how you're going to, control and balance that supply and demand. And you'll be able to contribute to turning the crypto space around. I think it's important to get rid of these people who are creating these projects that only drain the money out of people. It's time that people win in the crypto space. And this is why I've created MoveQuest the way that I've created it. I'm super excited about it. And I'm willing to work with anybody that wants to create a very solid project because we need those out here. So that's all I have. I talk a lot, but I'm good there.
Amazing. It was amazing. Our audience absolutely loved it. And we actually have a couple questions if you don't mind answering them. We have about 6 minutes left. Do you mind?
Nope, not at all.
All right. So let me throw these at you. The first question that I got actually was, what are some common mistakes that people run into when trying to build a crypto project? I
would have to say they picked the wrong developers. A a lot of people claim to understand crypto and they really don't. They don't know how to create smart contracts. You end up with, people that leave back doors. If you don't have the right development team, I would have to say if you're creating a project, probably the number one challenge and the biggest mistake that people make are choosing the wrong people to create it for them or to code it for them.
Excellent answer. My next question, do I need to have a large following or community already established or involved to make my project successful?
No, not really. So just to give you an idea, like when we started Avalanche, when we started Get Fit during the beta stage, we only started out with 50 people. And it started to slowly grow through the beta testing phase. When we went to do the proof of concept on the Avalanche chain, we started out with 300 people. And so we had built up enough people where we could go and talk to them and say, look, this is what we're going to do. Do you want to come in and be a part of this proof of concept? No promotions, no nothing. You got to go through the ecosystem as planned. And from there, we've been mining on that chain now since August 1st. So I think it's like 57 days, 58 days. And we're pushing 5,000 users, 27,000 miners are now plugged in and mining on the mining dock, and we're growing very quickly. And so we were able, I think, if you can show stability, if you can show that your token can increase in value, our all-time high was $110 from the actual community driving up the market value, and it settled down into the $62 to $64 area. You never see that with a crypto project with only 4,500 people that are involved in that project. So that right there will help you gain that audience. People love to be a part of something that works and is growing and is bringing value to them.
Amazing. Thank you. We have quite a few people who are well versed in the metaverse. And we've got, like I said, we're streaming live to 2 metaverses right now. And I've got some comments, some people are very, very new to crypto. And one of the questions that came in is, what is your number one piece of advice for someone who is just starting out in crypto?
Learn, read, learn, do your research. Never, never, never give out your private keys, your 12-word passphrase, guard your wallet with your life. Don't keep your crypto money on a phone. Make sure that, just simply go buy yourself a cheap phone. Don't put a cell plan on it. Download your wallet to that phone. Keep your money there. Only access it when you're on a secure Wi-Fi. And don't take a person's word just because they sound like they know what they're talking about, just because they can use a few big words does not mean that they understand the crypto space. Try to find people that are genuinely educated in the space and that don't have any agenda except to help you learn. You've got to, and learn as you go. But my biggest advice is, do get involved, but look for the tried and true solid projects. Don't fall for just anything that's out there.
Excellent advice. I'm also seeing in the chat, find a mentor. Knowledge is power. It's really, really great advice.
100%.
Really, really
Absolutely.
Great advice. I've got 2 questions. I'm going to merge them together here. Question number 1A, let's say, what are some red flags to look for when looking for a legit long-term crypto project? And the sort of second question I'm going to merge in that is, smart contracts have potential issues. So how do you verify one properly?
So Solidity has got a really good scanner. So anybody can go in, take a smart contract address, plunk it into the Solidity scanner, and you'll find out right away if they've got malicious code into their smart contracts. But as far as what it would be red flags, one, pre-sale. If they've got a pre-sale, I tell everybody, if they're doing a pre-sale of their token, stay away from it. A liquidity raise and a pre-sale are 2 different things. And if they're going to do a liquidity raise, when are they going to list that token? The next red flag is, do they have a self-sustaining ecosystem, a use for that token? Is there a liquidity provision? Or are they asking the community to provide the liquidity? If they're asking the community to provide the liquidity, it's got an end date, guaranteed. They must have no pre-sale. They've got to have a liquidity provision, and they need to have an ecosystem. If they don't have those 3 things, the project's going to fail.
Excellent, excellent. All right, and how do you see a physically based crypto transitioning or bridging into a metaverse environment?
That's a good question. And I'm still learning the metaverse. So I am the wrong person to answer that question. I am still learning it. And you guys, Corey and Chad, and, they're starting to they're introducing me into this metaverse space. My sons play with those Oculus and all the, I've been in them before and I'm like, whoa, I mean, it's pretty cool, but that is one area that I'm still learning. And so I'm the wrong person to give advice on that.
Wrong person, right place. We'll get the answer for everybody at some point during during this conference. So I'll hold that question. But yeah, so I got one last question for you, Lynette, and then we're going to say goodbye. This has been amazing, absolutely amazing and informative. Given your involvement, where do you see the future of crypto heading?
Well, if we can get enough people that will build a project the way we've built MoveQuest, and I'm telling you, I'm not an ego. I'm not running off ego here. I'm just telling you how, a successful project can work. I see it being an amazing space. It's life-changing for people. You can become debt-free. You're in total control of your finances. It's a life-changing space, and it's one that I really want to see move to the next level. And we just have to have more people creating the right projects, and doing it the right way. And it's life-changing. It's amazing. And I think everybody should get involved in the crypto space. It's the future.
Agreed, 100%. Thank you so much, Lynette. Before we say
Thank
goodbye
you.
to you, how can people get a hold of you? How can they check out MoveQuest? Where can they find this information? Let everybody know.
They can email us at hello@movequest.com. We have both sites up, getfitmining.com. That's where people are onboarding and getting set up right now. And then movequest.com, you can see our trailer video there. And my personal email is lynetteartin@gmail.com.
Wonderful. And you're going to be back with us tomorrow, right?
Yes, I
For
am.
our Women in Crypto panel. Very excited for that. That's tomorrow, Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific. Lynette will be back with us. So I hope you guys all join us again for that. Lynette, thank you so much for being here. That was an amazing, great way to kickstart. Everybody absolutely loved it. Once again, you can check out the replay as well of our live stream at Otherverse on YouTube. We're broadcasting live in both Metaverses Classic and Otherverse XAEON Beta right now. Yeah, come check it out. And Lynette will be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Lynette.